Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Rice. So today I'm going to be picking up off of where Ginny discussed and got us started with just exploratory learning. So we're going to hone in on some of the ideas that she discussed and look at them in context with real world examples. So I'm excited to get into that. So before we continue on, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and some of my personal experience with exploratory learning. So let's begin. So the middle school I attended was James Madison Middle School in Appleton, Wisconsin, about an hour east of here. So my middle school experience was a little funky. I know the norm for middle schools is sixth, seventh, eighth. In the Appleton area, somewhat common for it to be just seventh and eighth grade. So we were in and out of middle school in a flash. It went by so fast. And we had that team structure that we started learning about in class. Um, yeah, so I found that most of my exploratory learning experience was in eighth grade, which I'm excited to talk about in just a moment. About some of my schooling now. So I'm going to be a senior this upcoming year, tackling my English ed methods block and then student teaching in the spring. Exciting stuff. As I'm sure you're all excited, maybe a little nervous too. I wrapped up my French minor and my creative writing minor already. But that's me here at UWSP. Yeah, so I'll be talking a little bit about what some exploratory learning opportunities look like here at Point as well, which is exciting. So back to my middle school experience. I feel as though I experienced the most exploratory learning within my K through 12 education in middle school, primarily eighth grade. So my actual favorite experience in middle school was an exploratory learning unit called Deadline. So we didn't actually have an English teacher that year. I had three core teachers who taught math, science, and social studies, and then they each designated part of their class to teaching us English. So I kind of had three English teachers. It was pretty goofy. So they had coordinated to designate 1 week out of the whole year to this unit, which I think is one of the benefits and successes of team teaching, because you can coordinate, collaborate, do a PLC, professional learning community, with the other core teachers of your team. So I think it was really cool they were able to do that for us. So what was Deadline? We were divided into groups. And we were in charge of creating and running our own magazine for a full week. So I think the topic or kind of focal point of my group's magazine was technology. So we would hire on other students to write articles for us, and we'd write up contracts that we would have to sign and then have a deadline. So if they did not reach the deadline of the article that we had agreed upon and the day and time it was due, we could sue them and take them to court. So my group actually had to do that. So it was actually a lot about English education, because everyone was required as part of the unit to write a certain amount of articles, and a little bit about businesses, the social world, working together as a team, but also working with people outside of your team as well, hiring them on. Yeah, so so the people that we would get contracted with from the other groups to write for them, they would pay us. So I ended up writing probably 2 times as many articles that was bare minimum required of us because I loved it and I wanted to get that money for our magazine. There were also positions where you could create advertisements. So it was just a wonderful experience. Very, very cool. I thrived in that experience. Yeah, I think it was wonderful. So we didn't have any lectures or anything like that during our core class time for a week. We just did this. We had to learn time management, how to delegate our time, how to work together, all so many benefits. And I actually I've always loved writing my whole life basically. I want to be an author someday. And I think this kind of pushed me towards, the publishing world, which I'll talk about a little bit more. That I actually became the editor-in-chief of the Pointer here at UWSP for a while. So that just goes to show that some exploratory learning experiences can actually lead to careers, fostering interests and stuff like that. So I was really excited to share that with all of you. So as we discuss, me and my group mates, if you've ever had a really cool exploratory or service learning experience, I would love it if you commented in the discussion space, just so we can steal ideas from each other for our future classrooms someday. That would be so awesome. So feel free to contribute to the conversation or ask us any questions you may have. I'm more than happy to chat with you all. All right. So I found this really neat video of a middle school. And so we are going to watch this video together. Let's see if I can share this video with you all. All right. Sweet. It's a really cool video. You can tell how passionate the kids are. So we will discuss if it will let me share the screen. Let's see. Sorry about this technical difficulty. This is my second time recording. Okay, here we go. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right. Okay, it just disengaged again. All right. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to watch it small. Bear with me.
So you create different things, like we created this mountainside house where we mined into the mountain and created the house.
Our exploratory classes each kid has 2 of them a day, each student, and they sign up for them. So they're able to pick things they're interested in, like computer science class, or if they want to do a PE. Also, we have our chorus, our orchestra, our band. One of our most popular elective exploratory classes is keyboarding and fundamentals of computing.
I'm learning how to code. I'm using things I can type into the game and making it where I can do stuff that are not regularly used. And some people, they make it so you can play games like I'm playing right now and use JavaScript. It makes me feel avoided that I can make this and have fun with it instead of having somebody else make it, knowing that I can make it. Doing that, it makes me feel good about myself.
All right, so super, super awesome. I'm just gonna hop back to, sorry about this. I'm just gonna hop back to our slides, presentations. And then we will discuss that awesome video. Personally, I love that video because I play Minecraft. And I think it would have been such a cool experience to be able to play Minecraft at school in a learning environment and learning how to code, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm so sorry for these technical difficulties. I've been really, really struggling. Let's see if this will, okay, it keeps pausing on me. Zoom share, perhaps. All right, so we are gonna go back to small screen. since struggling. So how was this particular exploratory learning experience successful? So one thing that was really cool about Chesapeake Middle School in particular was that they had 2 periods every day that were exploratory learning. So it was built into the daily routine. So they consistently had this choice. So for students who are given this choice, frequently, routinely to explore their interests. So according to Muth and Elberman, the first chapter we read for this class, there are 4 types of interests that students can explore. So that would be within the unified arts, academic inquiry, independent learning, or discipline expansion. So it appeared to me that there was lots of opportunities for these students, which is key. And tying back to what Ginny had mentioned before, there was autonomy within these choices of what they're going to explore. And there was engagement. These kids were excited to be playing Minecraft and learn how to code. The one kid said it was a very rewarding experience for him because he was able to do things on his own. These kinds of classes could potentially lead to future careers someday, if you think about it. And kind of moving on to my next point. So another reason why this was successful was because it focuses more on intrinsic motivation. So because these students had autonomy, engagement, those sorts of things, their interests, their choice. They had intrinsic motivation, which according to verywellmind.com, intrinsic motivation is when a person is motivated to perform an activity for its own sake and personal rewards rather than extrinsic motivation, which is what school is usually centered around. Extrinsic motivation is when a person is motivated to perform an activity or earn a reward or avoid punishment, right? So oftentimes kids do their homework to avoid detention, that sort of thing, or they do their homework to get good grades. So that's not an internal motivation. It's those external factors that impact their willingness to do a task. So you can see in this video, only the kids that wanted to do keyboarding and coding and computer sciences were in that class. So they had that intrinsic motivation, which was really, really awesome. Which I think we see a lot in exploratory learning, which is definitely a benefit of it, and including it in your classroom someday. So what could be some challenges to exploratory learning? Just from that video alone, some things I could identify could potentially be funding and time constraints. So Minecraft isn't cheap, and some school districts don't have access to technology or services or even games like Minecraft. So that could potentially be a challenge. I'm sure there could be some other exploratory learning opportunities that are not as costly. So that could be an alternative to still pursue these learning experiences, but not hurt the wallet at all, or potential budgets and budget cuts and stuff like that. Keeping that in mind is good. Another potential challenge for exploratory learning could be time constraints. So I know in the video they said that they had 2 exploratory learning periods per day. That's wonderful. I know that potentially in like a junior high model school, where it is built like a mini high school, there might not be room in a schedule or so on to have exploratory learning experiences that are just, designated parts of the day. So that could be a potential restriction. There's required curriculum mandated by state, maybe school districts that teachers have to get through. So that could be a challenge as well. Ways to kind of get around a time restriction could be just including exploratory learning on a day-to-day basis, lesson to lesson, as kind of mini lessons, mini activities, that sort of thing. The next portion of our presentation will be about some specific activities and an example of an activity. So maybe you could get some ideas there. So now I'm going to dive into some exploratory learning opportunities here at Point, because I think it's really interesting to compare and contrast from a public school K through 12 learning model of exploratory learning to a bigger scale where funding may not be an issue, time restraints may not be an issue here at Point. And just before we get into that, I know that exploratory learning here looks different than in when kids are younger, just because when kids are in those impressionable periods where they're learning, getting to know themselves, I still feel like I'm doing that, but K through 12 is a really every year is so influential in a child's life. So exploring those interests young, I think more so fosters the love and kind of helps them pick a path of passions and things like that that they might want to pursue. So once you get to exploratory learning at a university level like we are at, I think that it is more specific, because we kind of have more of a solidified idea of what path we want to take, what passions we're already interested in, and exploratory learning gives us opportunities to expand our horizons within that path. So I think that's really interesting to keep in mind. So the different exploratory learning opportunities I'm going to talk about at UWSP are the Cornerstone Press, the Connections Project, Studying Abroad National Student Exchange, and Tree Haven. I'll give you some pictures to look at while we do that, but let me know if there's any more you can think of. These are just a handful that I thought of that I've had experience with. You can see my smiling face in some of the pictures. So right on the left there, I had the privilege of studying abroad last summer, a year ago. And I think that absolutely getting out of your comfort zone, out of your home, out of your country is exploratory learning. You learn about different cultures, you have so many new experiences. We only had lecture time for one day, 3 hours out of the week. The rest of the time we were doing discussions, going to museums, going to plays, stuff like that, which I adored. And I think that exploratory learning is more accessible when you do study abroad and national student exchange opportunities, because so many things are just new to you, which is awesome. You can do a deep dive into them, find out new interests, stuff like that. So I think we are really lucky that we have a program like study abroad and national student exchange here at Point for people to partake in. So this next one here in the middle is a picture of some folks at Tree Haven. So I think that a lot of NRES, natural resources programs here at Point are exploratory learning based. Think about labs, research-based things, stuff like that. Getting outside. Schmeekly is exploratory learning. Yeah, lots of stuff there. You're really getting that hands-on experience, which is great for people who are interested in pursuing a career, figuring out, once you get that hands-on experience, real world, real life experience, you can be like, yeah, like this is for me. Or maybe I need to explore a different career path. So we're really fortunate here to have so many exploratory learning opportunities. Ooh, exciting stuff. Okay, so next, I was lucky enough to participate with the Cornerstone Press as well. So here's a picture from there, maybe some students, maybe some authors in that picture. So Cornerstone Press is like it's a real publishing house. And you get to work with real life authors. You're the one designing the book cover, the layout of the chapters, which stories get published, which stories don't get published, marketing, sales, media, author interviews, promotions, stuff like that. Like you are getting real world business experience in the publication world, which is definitely exploratory learning. I think this one would be project based, maybe problem based as well. You have an ultimate goal in mind to sell books. So if maybe you need to figure out a way to cut costs, that could be a problem that needs to be solved. It's open-ended yet specific at the same time. So could be two ends of that spectrum there. And let's see, I believe maybe Tree Haven is project based. I've never done Tree Haven. I'm not an NRS major. Maybe problems arise that you need to figure out. I know, like, what if there's local fish population is decreasing? That's a problem based thing you need to solve. That sort of thing. Research it. Figure out how to solve that issue. In the NRES world, I know that it could definitely encompass both of those types of exploratory learning. And then studying abroad, I think it could be both. You have a problem where you're traveling to a different country and your flight gets canceled. You need to figure out the tube delays because the tubes are on strike, stuff like that. How are you going to get to the museum? You know, stuff like that. And then my last example of exploratory learning, right there on the right, that's me and my partner Marissa from the English Education Connections Project. So this was really wonderful to do as a pre-service teacher. We were able to pick our own overarching essential question, which was what guided us through coming up with our own classroom, our own lessons for the majority of a semester this past semester. We were working with real life high schoolers, figuring out how online learning and teaching functions, what works, what doesn't work. It was definitely project based, but problems would arise. You know, we would have our first lesson that popped up had a problem because we had some example questions of things for the kiddos to be thinking about, and then they answered those questions instead of the actual homework questions. So we had to think about, oh my gosh, we have to redirect students, you know, to what we actually want them to be discussing in the discussion space, stuff like that. So definitely has had aspects of both project-based exploratory learning and problem-based exploratory learning. So yeah, that is about all I have to discuss. Thank you for sitting with me while I figured out my sharing screen issues. We could also probably share a link to our PowerPoint if that's easier as well, if you ever want to check out some of the sources we discussed. But I am oh, okay, sorry, I kind of talked about this. Had another slide. So how is exploratory learning different at a college level? Deeper dive than middle school exploratory learning, career-based, and more time and resources. Sorry about that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in our discussion space, email, stuff like that. Shelby is going to be picking up where I left off, diving a little more deeper into project-based learning and problem-based learning. Thank you so much for following along. Yeah, go team.